All righty. Judge Plakas is here. Where'd he go?
He's right
He's
there
over there.
in the back, in the middle left.
Still want to do that?
Yeah. What are you afraid of? Life. Okay, Charter Township of Plymouth regular Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 will come to order. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Stewart.
Here.
Trustee Monahan is excused. Trustee Kermy.
Here.
Trustee Buckley.
Here.
Clerk Vorba here. Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Here.
Supervisor Heisey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, so tonight we have Judge Plakas in the crowd here. So Judge, why don't you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, okay?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Judge. So before we do the approval of the agenda, I just want to state for the record that we are not taking any action tonight on Northville Downs or horse tracks. I have not heard from them since October 2nd. And we don't know what their game plan is. We've had no communication with them. So our next board meeting will not be until December 12th, and we'll just wait and see what happens. But again, we have not heard from them at all. Okay, approval of the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023.
Okay, motion's made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Buckley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval of the consent agenda. Comments, questions?
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023.
Okay, motion's made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Treasurer Dorshevitz. Let's see here.
Is there
Do we
anything-
need to do anything? No.
I think no.
All right,
those in favor?
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, public comment, limited to 3 minutes. Oh, and we do apologize, our projector is not talking to our computer tonight. So Bob is our resident IT guru here.
I got a hammer and I just keep hitting it.
So he
It's
is,
not working.
so if you hear any banging noises up here, don't be alarmed. It's just Bob trying to fix the thing. But if it comes on, it comes on, but we don't think it will tonight, so, okay.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah,
Well, here. There we go. Is that better?
yep.
My name's Dale Bernhardt. I'm opposed to the gambling site along with most of the township residents. I'd like to briefly discuss the evolution and current collapse of Michigan harness racing and, in fact, all animal racing. During the 60s through the 80s, harness racing was popular. It was the only way to legally gamble. Simulcast started at DRC in 1987. Northville Downs required 16 officers to be on duty during the 70s and the 80s for Robert Smith, a retired Northville officer. Now they have one, with only 20 to 30 people in the grandstand watching live races. So why this dramatic collapse? It started with state lottery, then declined much more with the casinos in Detroit and the Indian casinos. These drew all bettors away from harness racing. People are now also very conscious of horse injuries and no longer find animal racing enjoyable. Another reason for the decline is the advent of at-home betting. So in light of all these forms of gambling, 9 Michigan horse tracks have closed since the late 1990s. Does not sound like a thriving industry. Animal awareness has also spread to other animal racing sports and animal entertainment altogether. Greyhound racing is also a pari-mutuel gambling activity like horse racing. As of 2023, 37 Greyhound tracks across the nation have closed, with only 2 still operating, both in West Virginia, with casinos attached. And a bill just introduced may shut them down. Other entertainment using animals has also curtailed or reduced animal involvement, including circuses. So harness racing is a dead industry, and all the closures have amplified that fact. So I asked, why would we consider bringing a dead industry to Plymouth Township? It provides no benefit to the community and requires state school aid funding to exist. Remember, the reasons dog racing died are alive and well and growing. The reasons harness racing died are alive and well and growing. Keep this MITC property for profitable and growing industries. Let's reward success and starve failure. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Marilyn Bera, supporter of the racetrack. At the last township board meeting on October 24th, one of the members of the Stop the Racetrack group cited some statistics from job listings from Indeed of minimum wage jobs at the racetrack. And I'd like to clarify some of that information. For one thing, most tracks don't race year-round, so those salary figures would have been part-time figures, not annual salary figures. More importantly, horse racing is what I would consider somewhat a specialized industry, and I would suggest to someone who's not very knowledgeable about horse racing that Indeed is probably not the best place to do research on racetrack salaries and horse racing. So let me list some of the many jobs that are required at a racetrack which would not be minimum wage employment. Starter, starting car driver, state stewards, paddock judge, charter, announcer, clerk of the course, cameramen and IT personnel, trackmen, facilities maintenance, state veterinarian, security, track photographer, horseman's representative, race secretary and race office personnel, farrier, detention barn staff, Michigan Gaming Control Board employees, food and beverage staff, ticket sellers, lab employees. And then, of course, just the normal positions that would be in any business, office personnel, accountants, switchboard operator, marketing, legal counsel. Horse owners, trainers, and drivers earn their salary as a percentage of purses, which in year-to-date in '23 were almost $7 million. The American Horse Council prepares an economic impact study every 5 years, and it's currently being completed for this year. I don't have specific economic impact calculations, but here are some of the many ancillary expenses related to each Michigan racehorse. Property taxes and insurance, trucks and trailers, fuel, feed and bedding, farm equipment and fencing, supplies, food and lodging, medications, veterinarians, equine dentists, equine chiropractors, other equine therapy, farriers. So despite what the Stop the Racetrack group would like to believe and try to make others believe, horse racing is not a dying industry. It is a thriving, labor-intensive industry and also a huge revenue generator for so many related, direct and indirectly related employment opportunities. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Elizabeth Birmingham, and I've lived in Plymouth Township for about 12 years now. I just want to say a couple of things on the racetrack issue. I'm personally neither for it or against it.
Liz, could you address us?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm neither for it or against it. I'm positive that all these fine folks on the Board of Trustees, along with Kurt Heisey, our supervisor, will get the cold hard facts before making any decisions. And when I was listening to Mr. Bernhardt stating that everybody in Plymouth Township is against it.
I think most.
Okay, well, most. I just Googled the census of Plymouth Township from April 1st of 2020. There are 27,508 people since 2020. Now it's 2023. I have a feeling that maybe the population has grown. So I'm wondering if everybody who is getting the petition signed do have a total of around 27,508 people. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, Judge, I'm only giving you 3 minutes.
That's going to be
I
hard.
have the gavel with me.
You do. I've never used my gavel. I never have. If you prefer that I do, that's fine.
No, I mean, you can.
If that's what you'd rather I do, I'll do it. I can wait.
Okay.
I can wait. All right, thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephen Birmingham. I live in Lake Point neighborhood, which is in the northeast corner of Plymouth Township. I serve my neighborhood through the Homeowners Association. We recently had our fall general meeting last Wednesday, November 8th. In preparation for the meeting, I had reached out to the township with a couple questions and requests, and I wanted to give some public recognition on the good feedback that I got from the different departments of the township. So I had reached out to the planning department, and Nani Wolf was able to get back to me and answer my questions, and she was able to give me a call back and follow up, and then give me a nice summary via email. And then I had reached out to the police department to ask our liaison officer, Officer David Jaw, to come to our HOA meeting and give a safety update. Not only did Officer Jaw come, but Chief Nitel was able to come as well. And I know me and the residents at the meeting really appreciated the township, the planner, and the police department contributing to our HOA. Thank you.
Okay.
There's no microphone here, or it's just, oh, right into there. Okay, I should know by now, huh? Hi, my name is Joyce Janicki, and one thing we can all agree upon is that educating our kids using the finest of curriculums is of the greatest importance. Our state provides money through the Michigan School Aid Fund to hopefully do just this. School aid helps with funding literacy instruction, at-risk students, pandemic learning loss, preschool programs, student meals, tuition costs for future teachers, school safety and health, and the list goes on. However, state fiscal analysis of Senate Bill 412 would increase revenue to the Michigan horse racing industry by nearly $5 million and subsequently reduce funding to the school aid fund by this same amount. Now, which of the above educational programs would anyone choose to suffer from reduced or very possibly insufficient funding? Who would want to face the kids affected by this decrease and tell them, sorry kids, but we would rather support a failing subsidized gambling facility than attend to your basic educational needs. Also, a 60-minute segment this past weekend focused upon how vile the horse racing industry can be with its doping and cheating scandals and its numerous dead horses, which now total 464 just this year. During the 60 Minutes report, concentration was on thoroughbreds. The following is a partial list of harness racing scandals. In 2020, standardbred doping scam, which helped prompt the federal act to clean up horse racing, that's the HISA, Horse Integrity and Safety Program. 2022, doping scandal affecting 30 harness tracks. 2022, trainer admits fixing between 5 and 20 races. 2022, a 20-year uncovered scheme involving the selling and purchasing of untestable drugs. 2023, trainer driver pleads guilty to using performance-enhancing drugs. Why so many scandals and deaths? Because winning is highly lucrative. Fast horses win money. Northville Downs' own motto is, winning is everything. 60 Minutes asked that with horse racing so mired in scandal, can the industry ever be cleaned up? I ask you, please vote no on a racetrack in your community. Another thing too, I just wanted to say that I want to send an additional email to you with the names and prison sentences.
Perfect. Thank you.
Maran Adams, 25-year resident of Plymouth Township. I'm here to remind you about my opposition to Northville Downs' move to Plymouth Township. The reasons are numerous as to why this development should not be allowed in our community. You've heard many of them repeatedly. Since we didn't say no to begin with, like I believe other communities did when Northville Downs approached them, we should say no now. It should have never gotten this far, but it did. There are no community benefits for having this development in our township. Traffic is already a disaster on Ridge Road, and the mobile home communities, unfortunately, are going to pay dearly for the big mistake of the gigantic warehouse that is under construction, and especially the racetrack, as well as any other development to go into this area. I personally am feeling constricted more and more each day because of the traffic hazards surrounding my subdivision. I can imagine what someone living in one of the mobile home communities is feeling like these days. The railroad crossing, the two-lane road, and developments all around will not ease congestion with a center lane being added to 5 Mile or just the reinforcement of Ridge Road. I have no idea why Ivywood would even want to build near this area. If you recall, my primary opposition lies in this development being a gambling facility because I have family members who have suffered dearly from gambling and other addictions. However, as I've learned over the past few months, the abuse of the horses in this sport is unconscionable. Marilyn, I appreciate your diligence. You're the only one that keeps coming here advocating for this racetrack. Horse racing is in decline and will follow the path of dog racing. And Jen Buckley, my final comments are directed at you as the chair of the newly established Veterans Commission. The person in my family was a vet that had the gambling addiction and the other addiction problems. So I believe you have a moral and ethical responsibility to not advance activities that could bring harm to our veterans. It is fact that gambling addiction among vets is nearly twice as high as the gambling addiction among the general population. And vets with PTSD have a 60% higher rate of gambling addiction than the general population. This isn't a place to go watch horses trot around a racetrack. This is a place where people are gambling gambling 96% of the time on races occurring outside of this state. This subsidized industry is not one that should be supported anywhere in our state, including in our township. And Jen, I'm standing up for my family members by repeatedly coming before this board and sharing my story. You need to stand up for vets and say no to this development when it comes up to vote. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Oh, I guess not.
Ready? My name is Donald Garlett. I live in the Ridge and Joy area. And thank you for permitting me to speak in opposition to this racetrack situation. I'm a founding member of Attorneys for Animals and the Animal Law Section of the State Bar of Michigan, although I'm here speaking on my own behalf. My brief remarks will be about a maxim, economics, and societal trends. There's a military maxim that also applies to business, investing, politics. The maxim is reinforce success and starve failure. You can probably think of examples where this applies. It definitely applies to horse racing tracks, given the many that have shut down in Michigan since the end of 1999. We should starve failure and not even talk about this racetrack, let alone be suggesting that it be moved to Plymouth Township. The trend in Michigan for this business model is poor. Sometimes people also say, don't throw good money after bad. The economics of this business must be poor, given the massive loss of tax dollars suffered by Wayne County when Pinnacle Racetrack closed years ago. Everyone agrees the loss must have been $25 million at a minimum. At least 36 horse racetracks have closed in the United States since the beginning of 2000. If this business model was successful, almost 2 racetracks a year would not be closing across the country. The Plymouth Township Board may think that this will be an economic positive for the township. I doubt that this will happen. In any event, for this to be an economic positive, the racetrack will have to be an ongoing business, and trends indicate that will not occur. Now, a simple comment on societal trends. The American people are tired of animals in entertainment and vote with their pocketbooks on the matter. Consider what is happening. Greyhound racing, 37 tracks have closed since 2000, only 2 remain. The circus, animal acts in the circus are ending. Even the most famed American circus with animal acts, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, shut down between 2017 and this year. It began a human act only circus tour in September. And horse racing, just ponder the numbers and trends mentioned previously. In conclusion, reinforce success and starve failure. Invest in the future, not in the past. Remember the poor economic prospects for this business model. Remember, the American people are turning against the use of animals as entertainment. And now I'll reply to any questions or comments you may have. Thank you.
Sorry.
Good evening, trustees. My name's Beth Freelander. I'm back again for the second time in a row. I represent this evening, as I did last time, Attorneys for Animals, and we have submitted additional comments. Like it or not, Plymouth Township will become yoked to the horse racing industry if Northville Downs moves here. The industry is in decline and reliant on state subsidies to survive. 4 bills are currently pending in the Michigan Senate Natural Resources and Agriculture Committee. We urge the trustees to exercise due diligence and review Senate Bills 411 through 414. What they would do, who supports them, who opposes them. Fortunately, there is recent information at your disposal. The Senate committee held a hearing October 10th of this year on those 4 Senate bills. This testimony and the whole hearing is available online at the Senate Television Archives. It has closed captioning capabilities. Attached to this letter that I gave to you just now and emailed earlier this afternoon is a transcript of Northville Downs owner's testimony. I'll just review some highlights, although we urge you to listen to the full testimony and read it in full. It's about 6 minutes in length. So the owner starts out by saying, quote, "It's no secret that over the last 30 years, the industry has seen a big decline," end quote. And I'll paraphrase here. A lot of it has come from the non-interest of letting this industry go forward from the prior administration. So hopefully, he says, this current administration in Lansing will be different, so it will flourish again. But that takes money. Second, he talks about, this is 6 weeks ago, having received final site approval through the Plymouth Township Planning Commission, and we are 1 vote away, hopefully by the end of this month, October, last month. They're ready to get moving. Then he talks about how frustrated he is because they have put this bill out in June to no problems, and then 3 days or so before the hearing, out come the opponents, namely the casinos. And he's very frustrated. They've tried to come up with another tool that the legislature may be willing to work with. If you look at it, you'll know what these tools refer to. So in other words, he's complaining about normal legislative processes.
Okay, so ma'am, your time is up.
Okay, let me just finish. These bills did not receive a committee vote on October 10th. Today, the Michigan legislature is adjourning for the year.
Yep.
And according to the Northville Downs owners, they've been trying to change the legislation for 25 years.
Okay.
The political landscape has changed since you publicly announced this project. Both,
You got it.
he didn't get the bills through, and you've seen a lot of public
Yes. Thank you.
opposition.
Thank you. We know
So
that.
we
Thank
ask you to just
This
pull
other
the
gentleman would
plug
like
now.
to speak now.
Thank you.
very much.
Good evening. My name is John Reynolds. Like the supervisor, I graduated from Wayne State Law School. I, however, graduated in August of 2022 and was admitted to the State Bar just this year. I left the business world for law school with the goal of advocating for animals, and that's a big part of why I'm here tonight. I should mention that I'm a member of Attorneys for Animals, member of the Animal Law section of the State Bar, and was just recently elected to their council, but I don't show up here tonight representing any organization. My words tonight are my own. I'm here to speak out against what I see as a last gasp effort by a very antiquated and harmful horse racing industry to stay relevant and somehow manage to survive against the best interests of the horses and the expressed wishes and interests of the communities where this industry continues to exist in this state. Actually, I'm sorry, that should be singular. This is the last community impacted, as Northville is ready to offload the last operational track in the state to this community, Plymouth Township, and I urge you to resist that. One could argue that this lifespan of horse race tracks in the state of Michigan likely would not have made it into this century without significant support from politicians arranging for subsidies, passing on public funds to these private entities. As online gambling grew in the state, the legislature failed to keep up, and a January 2023 Detroit News article exposed that some 850,000 of these gambling revenues from the state spilled over to the private Northville Downs Company. Representative Julie Alexander was quoted in that article as noting, "My concern is that these are tax dollars given to a private organization and private business, but not given through the typical annual appropriation process. Clarity on how these entities spend the taxpayers' money should be part of the process and made transparent to everyone." End quote. One might guess, given the continued push by politicians here in Plymouth and also in Lansing, that some of these taxpayer dollars have been reinvested into lobbying efforts on behalf of this industry. Some of that is just public record, but also shows up in the actions and comments made by any politician I've seen discussing why they are bothering to continue to put forth legislation or make efforts to support the horse racing industry at the expense of the goals and welfare of their constituents, as nobody or very few people other than the industry seem to be asking for this support. As the state Senate considers updates to the laws right now, with very friendly language to the industry, you hear them wax nostalgic about seeing horses race in their childhood at local county fairs, but what you don't hear them talk about is how the presence of such an industry in the state actually provides any tangible and direct benefit to their communities. You don't hear them, for instance, talking about where these dollars might be better spent, even though this is exactly the conversation they should be having. Similarly, as Plymouth Township considers allowing Northville Downs to move to their high-tech corridor of the future, you don't hear any board discussing any inherent tangible benefits the track brings to the neighborhood. Instead, you hear them ignoring or making light of statistics on the downsides and dangers a business like this brings to the community. This board instead seems to focus on the possibility that community benefits agreement might come into play. And true, this would theoretically force the track to share some of their state subsidies with the community to make up for the blight it brings, but by doing something beneficial for the community. But it should be noted that these CBAs often lack significant binding authority or otherwise shift in importance with a change in the local leadership, and often it just depends on the goodwill of the developer. Simply put, you can't count on the CBA actually materializing. It's time to move on from the idea of relocating Northville Downs to Plymouth. If there's a vote, I urge the trustees and the board members to uphold their duties to the community and honor their wishes by voting no. And if you won't do it for the community, do it for the horses. I promise you, they don't want to be out on that track.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on then to item F1, adoption of the Stormwater Management Plan. Patrick Fellrath, our DPW director, is here. And this is a rather unusual situation because the state of Michigan is increasing their oversight on our stormwater permits, which we agreed to back in 1996, 1997. I was there in federal court along with Jim Manowitz, our old DPW director. I know Jim watches us from up north, so you're not old, I take that back. But Patrick has inherited the stormwater permits, and we do a terrific job, I think, of maintaining them. But one of the new requirements from the state is that we, I guess, re-acknowledge the permits, which we already agreed to many years ago. So Pat, is that a pretty decent summary? Do you want to elaborate some more?
No, it's a pretty good summary.
Okay.
Tonight's action is required by the state. It's a resolution that was reviewed and approved by the state for the township to adopt our stormwater plan, which already has been approved by the state, and it's part of our approved stormwater permit that was issued by the state. So this could really be viewed as a formality. I'm not sure why they want us to do it. Just a reminder, when we talk about the stormwater township stormwater program, we are specifically talking about those storm sewers that we own and maintain, and those are only located on township property. So there's a few select properties that the township owns. The parks, for example, Fire Station 2, 3, this location here. These are the storm sewers that are regulated by the state for the township to maintain and manage. So that's what we're talking about here. This came about because they did the state did an audit earlier this year. It was the first audit in over 10 years. I think it's more geared towards the city, this requirement, but so be it. This is what they want us to do. And this is the request for the board tonight.
So basically, it's a belt and suspenders approach by the state to acknowledge something that we are already complying with.
Right.
So it's a box that I guess they
Just
can
another
check
layer
off.
of regulatory
Okay.
mechanism, if you will, so.
All right, clear as mud, everybody?
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk?
I move for the approval of Resolution 2023-11-14-23, adopting the township stormwater management plan included as part of its current municipal separate stormwater system, MS4, permit issued by the state.
All right, motion's made by Clerk Forvis, seconded by Trustee Kermy. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart. Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Next item is F2. This is a resolution requesting the elimination of 35th District Court Judgeship beginning December 31st, 2024. What?
Okay.
Yeah.
December 24th.
December, yes, sir. So Judge Lowe, District Court Judge Lowe is retiring, has announced his retirement at the end of the calendar year. And of calendar year 2024, sorry. And that would be the end of his, also the end of his term. So Plymouth Township is somewhat unique in that we are part of a court authority comprised of 5 communities. So that would be Plymouth Township, Plymouth City, Northfield Township, Northfield City, and Canton Township. So those are the 5 communities. And Canton Township has grown exponentially over the last several years. They now have a population probably around 100,000, and they are as large as Dearborn, Livonia, whereas we are probably at about 28,000, Jerry.
Right.
And then how many voters, Jerry? 136, huh? And then, so Plymouth Township and Northfield Township are pretty stagnant in terms of population. We've grown almost as much as we can at this point, and so have the cities. So as a result of a variety of factors, most notably tickets that are not being written the way they used to be in all of the communities, but I think more so in Canton, and I think the numbers would show that. We are now running a deficit in the district court. The latest deficit, I believe, was about $750,000. Bob, I'm looking to Bob because he is our representative to the Finance Committee on the 35th District Court Authority. So we are looking to cut costs everywhere, and we have had numerous meetings with the judges, with the court administration, to find ways where we can improve efficiency, cut costs, use more technology, or maybe even take on more roles to expand the role of the court so that we can generate revenue, frankly, to keep things going. So the imminent departure of Judge Lowe, I've said this on social media, I'm a big Judge Lowe fan, and I think he's been a terrific asset to our community for decades. And I wish him very well in retirement. So this is certainly not a reflection on Judge Lowe. But I believe all of the communities right now, all 5 communities, have expressed a desire to ask the legislature to eliminate this position effective at the end of Judge Lowe's term, which would be December 31st of 2024. That decision does not come easy for the communities, but I think we have to exhaust our options to try to find ways to cut costs and overhead. And I know that there are strong opinions on this. Judge Plakas is here tonight. Unless you're here to endorse this concept, then I welcome you back up here. But if not, then just no. But I know the judges have feelings about this. I know the State Court Administrative Office, SCAO, I know they also have some strong opinions about this. But a bill has been dropped. A bill has been entered in the State House by Representative Puri from Canton Township. There's a bill number attached to it. I don't know it off the top of my head. But a bill has been dropped in the legislature, and that bill will more than likely go to the House Judiciary Committee. And any attempt to add or subtract a judgeship in Michigan has to happen through an act of the legislature. You have to introduce a bill, has to start either in the House or the Senate, It has to go to the governor, she has to sign it, and then it's enacted into law. When I was a state rep in 2012, we eliminated 45 judgeships across the state of Michigan through legislative action, and all of those were done through attrition. Nobody got fired, but we waited for somebody to either retire, get promoted, or otherwise move on, and it was fairly effective, but certainly not without controversy. So where we are today is, it is my belief, based on our meeting last week, that the mayors and supervisors of the 5 communities are supportive of this. Our resolution tonight would affirm our support for this legislation. And it also cites the fact that the SCA, a lot of the SCAO numbers that we are using are pre-COVID. So we really don't think that the current numbers really reflect what we are currently seeing in the court. I also just want everybody to know that this is part of a legislative process, and the communities have introduced this bill, and frankly, that was done by Canton and Northville. I did not even know, when we had our last court meeting, I did not know that a bill had actually been dropped at that point. And then Representative Puri is the one who is sponsoring that bill. It will go through a normal process. It will go through hearings. Maybe the communities may want to attend. I'm sure the judges will attend. SCAO will attend, and the legislators are going to make a decision based on the facts, based on the law, based on policy, maybe based on the numbers as well. I really think that the biggest impediment right now, if for those who want to preserve this position, I think the best thing happening right now is the fact that we have a divided state house. And there seems to be no interest by the Democrats to share power in the Speaker's office. So I really don't know if anything is going to get done in the Michigan House, probably until the 2 new state reps are elected. And that may not, those 2 individuals may not take office until June. So I don't know what's going to happen in the Michigan House between now and then. They have adjourned for the rest of the year. They won't come back in session until the middle of January. If this bill is approved, it's got to be implemented ASAP, because if this seat is going to be open next year, individuals who are running for that seat, they have to collect petitions. They need a lot of petitions. They have to get a couple thousand signatures. They have to raise money. They have to organize campaign committees. So it's a disservice to those people who wish to run for that office, to really pull the rug out from under them. So something's got to happen really, really fast. And I can tell you things don't happen very fast in the legislature, as several of us know up here. So anyway, this is a statement of our intent. It will be filed with our legislative delegation in Lansing, and then we'll see what happens with the bill. And I'm available for any questions that you all might have. And then Judge Plakas, I know you'd like to say a few words as well. You don't?
No, I don't speak now.
Oh, sure, please.
Oh, okay.
I'm giving you 3 minutes though, boss, okay?
First, I want to talk about the racetrack.
Oh, no, you don't.
All right, I'm Jim Plakas. I'm one of the 3 judges at the 35th District Court. And it is true that, am I stuck with 3 minutes?
Well,
all right, I mean, because I just don't know if we're going to kind of deviate from that since you're having me come up separately.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't want to do that.
No,
listen, I'm the
this is
municipal attorney. I have a lot of respect.
This is not a free-for-all.
What these individuals do up here. It is not easy. I'm a resident of Plymouth Township. I've been a Plymouth Township resident 11 years, December. I love this community. I love that court. I got elected in 2008. It was an intense time. What's frustrating to me is, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a reduction in the judicial positions there. We're at 3 right now. We added a position some 20 years ago, whatever it was. It's before I took the bench. It's before that, probably. I've been there for 15 years now. It's that Judge Lowe is retiring, so yes, there's going to be an open seat. But also, you get aged out as a judge. You can only be a certain age and still be a judge. In the next, I would be up next, and then after that, it would be Judge Giroux. Judge Giroux is going to be aged out after that, so that's approximately 5 years from now. this issue can be revisited at that time. And what concerns me is that there's been one person up here tonight who's actually come to me and asked me my opinions about this, and I believe same with Judge Giroux. Judge Lowe has just outwardly expressed his opinions about it, even though he knows it conflicts with our opinions about it. I keep hearing that it's urgent to do this now because these people may be filing to run for this position. I'm concerned about the court, and I've been reading your resolution, and it's whereas this and whereas that, and whereas this, and it references the money that the communities pay, and we've given you guys the numbers, and we've told you what it potentially would save, and then there's the gray area about what's going to increase. But I see the decision, it seems to me, though the decision is rooted in how do we save money. It's not rooted in what I do all day long, and it's try to ensure justice. That's why I go to work. It's about justice. I don't see where in this resolution it says, whereas it's in the best interest of the community we serve. Whereas it's in the best interest of the people who use that court. I don't see that anywhere in here. And that's because that, in my opinion, is not what would happen. And so, again, I appreciate what all of you do. One of you has been kind enough to, respectful enough to say, what's your opinion on this? Explain the court to me. And I don't expect that most of you understand the court and how we work there, that specific court. I would have appreciated some questions about that. Not picking on anyone. I'm not being critical of anything you guys are doing. I'm just saying, I wish you would give more time and thought to this by consulting with us. I'm sure you've given a lot of thought to it behind the scenes, but it seems like that motivation is only rooted in the money. What about the people who use the court? What about our sobriety court program? What about all these programs? Are we going to lose the program?
Yeah, could you speak to that? Like, what are the worst case scenarios with this position?
It's hard. See, this is the thing. If we're gonna, I know SCAO has the head of the state court administrative office, which they oversee everything the judges do, and they work in concert with the state Supreme Court. Their administrator, the head of all, he's the boss of all the judges. He rifled out a letter. We never asked for it after he got wind that this was being pursued, opposed to it. And the numbers he used, and they use a numbering system. I couldn't explain it to you if I tried. But they believe, pre-COVID, I believe they said we needed 2.3 judges maybe. And now they're saying at this point in time, it's 2.6. And that's because, and so you ask, well, how does that make sense when numbers are dropping? And they've dropped significantly, but not only in our court. And I'm not aware of any other court where they're trying to eliminate judges right now. I believe there's 2 right now where there's a resolution to add, but ours is the only one where there's a resolution to eliminate. Civil infractions are important, but a civil infraction is a speeding ticket, running a red light, that kind of stuff. It's punishable by a fine. It's punishable by points. Are they important? Yes. Are some more important than others? Yes. An example being M14. The speeding that occurs on M14 would shock you if you read the statistics. Now, if you drive down there all the time, it wouldn't shock you at all. So, in that instance, you get someone who's written up for a ticket, 120 miles over. I've seen 120. It's like, whatever. It's like, I've seen 134. But those are civil infractions, all right? This is the stuff that doesn't take that much time. The stuff that takes time, those numbers have barely budged. So do you want your judges focusing on the stuff that impacts the person who comes in front of that judge? Now that person goes back to a home, and who they are impacts everyone they live with. And that impacts everyone they work with, and the community, as we say. So do you want us spending our time helping these people? That's what the court does. It helps. When we had the juvenile court program, which has been suspended temporarily, I won't comment on that one. When we had that program, I used to tell these kids, you get to do something incredibly important here today. We do it over at Plymouth High, and the defendants were fellow students, and they had already admitted to what they were charged with. And it might have been possession of a narcotic or, Could have been anything like that. And I told them, you're doing something that only a judge gets to do. You're going to sentence this person. You're their peer. And let me tell you about it. Their sentencing has really two essential elements to it. One is the punishment part, which is the easiest part. The other part is, what do I do to help this person? Can I help this person? Well, how do you help a person? Not by shoving them through the system. How do you help a person? Not by saying, hey, your probation department, you're only going to have part-time employees there because we're going to cut costs. Because now, if you have someone who comes in front of you on a drunk driving and it's their second in a year and they just blew a 34, and we have people coming to court blowing positive, that's not uncommon. Okay, well, let's go through the process. The process carries out. I'm going to sentence you now, but guess what? You got to go downstairs. I'm testing you in the interim, but you're going to go downstairs. You're going to have to set a date to take a test, be interviewed, and be sentenced. Well, when you don't have the people power to do all that, you get this big gap where all these people aren't really being easily monitored or supervised because they're not on a reporting probation yet. That's an example of, are we really helping this person? And are we exposing the public to potential danger? Someone who's still drinking?
A question for you. What would you suggest then as a way to fill in this gap of $750,000 deficit?
There's, yeah, I mean, it was said that maybe the court can do something to generate revenue. Our job is not to generate revenue. For years, we gave money back to the communities, and they just grabbed it and said, thank you.
$11 million.
Yeah, $11 million.
Well, how'd you come up with that?
It's in a letter.
Oh, I missed
We've
none of
given
the
money
back
back
is
to the
attached.
communities. We were one of the very few courts in the state of Michigan that did. It was because based on the numbers of tickets that were written and based upon how we were set up there, and if you have probation, they have a probation officer, they're paying oversight fees, they're doing all this. Well, when you have fewer people and when fewer tickets are being written, I can't really answer you how you make up for the money. And let's keep in mind, the money, 700 isn't the responsible of just Plymouth Township. Canton Township's more than 50% of our cases, okay? There's a formula that determines who has to pay what. So it's just like when I was a municipal attorney, we would we'd come in, we'd do our budget, and they would say, well, what's your law department budget? It's actually we could go in there and say, it's $1. Because it doesn't matter. We just, as the law department, you're going to feed us cases because we're reactionary. We react to what you give us. And that's what a court is. We don't generate cases. We don't make people do things they don't have to do. We're there to help them. We're there to serve them. And I'm sure Kurt's sick of hearing this because I say it. I feel like I have to say it at every meeting. Like, that job feeds my professional soul, my soul for the profession that I serve. And that it bleeds into my personal life. And it feeds my soul personally. It just does. I love it.
Why does Judge Lowe seem to take a different stance?
To me, I don't really understand it. He goes based on numbers. Judge Drew and we disagree with Judge Lowe. Every judge handles their bench differently and how they process cases and what they do with cases and how much time they spend on cases. Judge Drew's doing the entire sobriety court docket. Judge Lowe and I aren't doing it. And I know Judge Drew's concerned we may lose the sobriety court program if we go this route. And again, I'm not saying don't do it. I don't want to get political. It's the last thing I want to do. I'm not here to criticize anyone. I'm just saying I would have preferred or appreciated questions like one of you had. And again,
Judge, Bob and I are we're the township's representatives.
You're on
we asked you guys, we have really good open discussions with you guys.
We've had full discussions.
And I'll tell you what, I was blindsided by the bill. The bill was dropped by the lobbyist for Canton Township and Northfield Township, and we all know who he is. So I was blindsided by that as well.
I'm not here to pick on anyone, Kurt.
No, but I know you guys have been there. We do ask questions, and you
know what? And you're always there, and you listen to what we say, and you ask questions and all that. And I can see that you are concerned about And you understand the importance of the court. I totally get it. But yes, it was something that we were all blindsided by. Like all of a sudden we got to rush this thing through. I don't think there's been full discussion. This last meeting last week was the first time I expressed myself to everyone there as to how I felt about it.
Well, the October 31st letter from Thomas Boyd, the state court administrator, was not attached to the backup to this packet. And it says,
But I forwarded to you, didn't I?
Yeah, we've gotten
Oh, okay.
correspondence via email.
Yeah.
you got the October 31 letter? When did you get it?
Actually, back
No,
a long time, a month ago.
it couldn't have been a month ago because
Whenever we
October
got
3rd.
it. Whenever we-
I didn't
sent you
didn't
guys-
see it. I got it through the court today.
Okay.
And it says, as shown in the attached tables, the pre-pandemic filing data results in a range from 2.67 to 3.25 judgeships for your court. And the 2022 filing data results in a range from 2.16 to 2.62. Unfortunately, you can't cut a judge into pieces, and
Well,
any gap that you have to make up would have to be done with a paid magistrate, which is an attorney.
Well,
And-
there's some difference of opinion on that, too.
You mean that,
in
well, the judges
30.
might have to work harder or more hours,
Well, we
right?
might have to have a magistrate who is a licensed attorney, because it's my opinion that we're currently using the court bailiff as a magistrate.
As a cut costing move, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we used to have a licensed
Well, but
attorney.
I think
do
you
it.
need to have a licensed attorney. I don't think you should have.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I know.
We used to have one who was a licensed attorney.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, he retired or we
Retired.
cut costs. And remember, the judge's salary and expenses, they're paid by the state, right?
Right.
So how much, we need to see, how much are we talking about
Not
here?
staff.
Yeah, one person said in this letter that it's about $115,000. Is that true? That's not very much to take a risk to cut. You know me, I don't let go of a quarter except to get a tighter grip. But we don't want to be stupid either if it turns out that the magistrate ends up costing us more than having 3 judges, and with more development, whether it's horse track, mire, or Canton growing, the crime level directionally is probably going to go up. In the rest of the country,
Drugs are legal now, so.
but
I'm
crime
sure
has gone up in a
drug
lot of
crimes,
communities.
You know.
I don't know what's driving it,
Canton is not writing tickets the way they used to, so.
but they have other crimes, right?
they're not doing anything.
They're not doing anything.
Well, I think we need to either postpone this, to think about it more.
Well, if you want to make a motion to postpone it, go ahead. I'm just concerned,
Let's hear what everybody has to say, and then I'll make that motion.
There's a bill in the legislature right now, and at some point, our legislative delegation is going to ask us, what's your opinion on this?
So,
And I know what the court authority's opinion is, but if you want to be neutral or table this, I mean, I'm fine with
yeah,
that. But
so if we postpone it, I mean, I think the judge made some very compelling points. And if we postpone it and the legislature does act on it, then we can bring it back quickly at that point in time. But otherwise, it becomes kind of moot if we pass this and the legislature doesn't act on it. So rather than, voting it down, why don't we postpone it?
Well, they can't act before February, right? When they come
they're
back.
not going to meet again, my goodness, until,
January or
I
February.
mean, under normal conditions, they would meet in the middle of January.
But I don't think they're going to.
And now, with divided legislature, they've passed all their controversial legislation, lickety-split, so they may just do nothing until June.
So there's an incentive for the Democrats to delay it as long as possible to reconvene.
Until their people get elected.
Because
Yeah.
you have these 2 mayors, one from Warren, one from Westland, that got elected.
Yep.
And so now the Democrats are down 2,
Yep, it's a tie.
and so they can't be hitting home runs like they've done for the last 10 months.
No.
So,
I mean, the legislative inertia may end up killing this whole thing. But again, it's your call. It's your call, guys. But I'm just saying that at some point, somebody's going to, I'm going to get a call from Matt Colazar saying, what's your position on this? I can tell him my personal position, but, take it for what it's worth.
you had your hand up. Oh,
Yeah, John.
before,
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
trustee Furman. and Supervisor. I'm glad to hear that you are willing, Mr. Supervisor, to entertain a motion to postpone this decision. I'd like to, three realities according to John Stewart. I have worked in this building and in front of these judges for over 4 years. I was there as recent as last week. So I ought to be given the professional courtesy of abstaining from this vote. But understanding that I won't get that.
Why would you
I will vote
abstain?
no.
Okay.
Now, second reality. I was chairman of Judiciary Appropriations, not a policy committee. And I was responsible for committees for judges being placed and or eliminated. The reality is, as you have said, using your words, they're not going to do anything until March, because the presidential primary election is February 27th. The probability is that a Democrat from Westland and Warren will be elected and the Democrats will be back. I cannot imagine. My reality is I can't imagine the Democrats eliminating a judgeship in Wayne County. So I think this is really kind of grandstanding. I've talked to Anne-Marie Hudak, and she is not asking the Board of Trustees in Canton for a resolution.
Her lobbyist introduced the bill.
I've talked to Yuri Rajiv, and he is withdrawing it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'd like to see that in
He
writing.
has no desire of going
Okay,
forward.
well, let's see that in writing, John.
He was talked into filing it.
Okay.
John, if you
But
think,
my final point is this, Bob. Felony drunk drivers have maintained the same number. A lot of you may know, I got a real hard case for alcohol and drunk drivers. The number of felony drunk drivers in Plymouth, I think it's our community curse. They have maintained the side, and you failed to mention that. They have maintained felony drunk drivers, 2 or 3 times convicted for drunk driving in Plymouth, Canton, and Northville. They're the same number right through the pandemic. Do you want to eliminate fewer services in sobriety court? Do you want to deny Mike Giroux oversight and review of felony drunk drivers? That's our curse in this community. My church has an AA meeting every morning at 9:30, and it's filled to capacity. First Presbyterian, 9:30 in the morning. So, I'm sorry, Judge. Your Honor, thank you for coming, but I got a real thing about reducing services regarding felony drunk drivers. And the oversight that Mike Giroux has provided is just honorable all across Michigan.
So what is the
John, if you
preference?
think,
Okay, so what do you want to do?
To table this, or we could do nothing and it would just die?
We could just move on.
You
I mean,
can do that,
we
but
could
what do you
bring this
want?
back.
That's why I want to hear what people want.
I mean, there's been no motion
There's been no motion,
made,
it
so
can die away.
we can just
But
move
do you
on.
want that?
Yeah, I'd prefer that, because if we could
Okay.
if we have to
Just
bring
forget
something
about it
back,
then.
we could. But again, I think that, you know.
I just wanted to
we're-
say,
we're gonna-
John, if you think that you should abstain because you have a professional conflict, then you should say that. Nobody would deny that if you think there's a professional conflict.
Well, okay.
So that's good to know for the future, but
Yeah.
today it's going to be a moot point because we're not going to vote.
We're not,
I know.
so we're moving to F3?
Okay, good. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks,
Just
I'm
so-
glad
can
you
I just
came.
make it clear that the elimination would not affect my position, just so everyone understands. I'm not
Yeah,
necessarily
but
motivating me to be here today.
but just for the record, you also said that Judge Giroux is age limited in what, 2 years?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, in 5.
5 years, that's a
So
long
that's
time.
why I said you guys could reconsider this then. Let's see where the
Yeah.
numbers go, the
Yeah,
transfer.
the
That's
numbers
what I
are
said,
not
yes.
gonna get any better, so, okay, thank you. All righty then, next up is item F3, approval of the 2024 all funds budget.
Yes.
We've been, yes,
I
sir,
want to congratulate you. Are we
Okay.
moving on and not doing that?
we're
Yeah,
not doing it,
moving on.
that's what we said, so.
Yeah.
Thank you for your judiciousness.
Okay, thank you. Item F3 is the budget. We've been talking about the budget since, wow,
A long time.
July.
Yes.
We've been talking about it internally since probably June,
Yeah.
and when the budget's done, then we start working on the audit. So, Do we have any last-minute questions or concerns or comments for
Since we're on
Elizabeth
it,
Cuddy?
What is the number we have in for the court we're anticipating contributing in 2024?
200 and, what was it, Bob? What did we, for the court? 275?
Yeah.
I think it's like 275 or something like that.
I don't know, I'd have to look.
So you don't have it off the top of your head?
No, but it's 200 and something.
But you just send an email to us then.
It's in here.
Tomorrow,
It's
please.
in here.
It's in here.
I know it is, but I mean, it's.
I know we had to do a
it's
separate.
big thing.
Yeah, I mean, of the 750, obviously Canton pays the most.
Our share of it,
but-
yeah.
But we're number 2.
Wasn't it 37,000 times 4? No, that's not right.
Well,
I remember it as-
250,000 is 1/3.
I remember it being about 250.
1/3 of the 750, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's about where I remember.
37 times 4 would be 168. I think it's 37 times 4.
Well, we gotta look it up anyway. That way we'll know it, so we
It's
can.
a six-figure-
So we can manage to it.
It's definitely a six-figure
Big
number.
six-figure number.
Yeah.
It is, no question.
I have another question about staffing. What do you have for the date of retirement for the prior building department coordinator? What is the date?
For Sherry,
Sherry Palmache.
she's leaving, her last day is January 5th.
January 5th, okay.
Now, she will be coming back as a temporary part-timer until June. Because we've lost, we had another departure in the building department.
Who left?
Anna,
Anna.
She's been here about 4
the
years.
woman in the front.
Okay, so she left, that's a recent development.
Yes, that was last week. She
Oh,
quit.
okay, so I wasn't aware of it. All right. then I understand.
We're very short-staffed right now. Plus Sherry does bring a lot of institutional knowledge.
Right.
And we want to,
Transition.
we want to transition, and again, we're very concerned that with, especially with Nell Hydrogen coming in, that's going to dominate the woman the new gal, Heather, and it's going to dominate her time, and Sherry may have to pick up some of that slack. But again, we don't want, Sherry wants to retire as well, and this is a part-time gig, and it's really more of an as-needed part-time gig. And she'll serve until June.
And we gotta fill that other position.
Third question is, I wasn't here for the vote last year, but is this the first time we're doing every budget all at once?
No, this is like the third time.
Every budget all at
Yeah.
once? Water and sewer is
Yeah.
not separate?
Yeah, we did it last year, and we did it the year before. This all started under Ginger.
Okay.
But we started all 3.
That's when we started doing them all at once. And I think that's some kind of a best practice for the auditors. They like to see
We like to
that.
see it.
Something that, yeah, all right, best practice. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of money.
So to answer your question, I just looked it up.
Oh.
It is 28,000 per quarter.
Okay.
So that's 112, 113.
Oh, so it's a lot less.
Yeah.
So 28,000,
This quarter, we just got the invoice was 28,000.
let's see here,
Well, what was the budget adjustment that we just did?
28,
I thought that was in the 200s.
times,
Was that just to
court?
replenish the
Yeah, that was.
stockpile?
Yeah.
Yes.
so it's
And that was for
28,000 a
board-
month, a
was it
quarter or
just
a month?
Quarter.
Quarter.
Oh. Yeah, so that's 112,000.
It's, yeah.
Mr. Supervisor.
Hold on, you guys have any questions?
I thought they were
Hold
done.
on, finance.
No, it's just that we budgeted 120,000 for the court last year, for next year.
It's budgeted.
For 2024.
Okay.
For 24?
That's
2023, is it in that column also?
2023 is
Bob.
high because there was a bill that came in for the prior year, and it was too late for the prior year, so it's in this year's
All
money.
right, so it created a distortion
Yes.
Right.
because of timing.
Okay. Okay, guys, any other questions on the budget? All right, Jerry?
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Clerk.
I move to adopt resolution 2023-11-14-95, authorizing the adoption of the 2024 Charter Township of Plymouth General Appropriation Act for all funds and the 2024 budgets as outlined and attached in accordance with the terms and conditions contained therein.
Okay, motion has been made by Clerk Borba. I will second that motion. And then you can take the roll.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Kermy?
This is a hard one.
You want to pass?
What's a pass?
I mean, we'll come back to you.
Come back to me.
It's not a lifetime pass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
No.
Okay.
Motion carries.
Okay. I want to thank our finance team, Elizabeth Cutie, who came in the middle of all of this. So you've done a great job. I know it's been a lot of catching up to do. And of course, Carol Roshan, who inherited the budget from Ginger and really kept us alive during the year. And Carol really did I mean, frankly, she really got us to this point, and Liz just made sure that everything was looking good and a good second set of eyes and ears on that budget. So I want to thank both of you.
Thank you.
All right, it brings us back to public comment, limited to 3 minutes. All right, board comments, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't give me any promotions.
Honorables, Mr. Supervisor.
Okay.
Chief Nytel, you're up to bat. A week from tomorrow night is the night the most number of drunk driving tickets are usually written. The Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, when all the college kids come home and hit the bars. I've had to be in court with people who have been drinking. And the next 3 months are very tense. So it's my privilege to serve on this board, but I want to reflect my work experience of 45 years in the courts in Wayne County. From the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving until Super Bowl Sunday.
Hey.
God help these judges.
Go Lions.
Have to tolerate domestic violence because they go hand in hand. And abuse of animals. It all is connected. Connect all the dots. So, folks, God bless, and we have many things to be thankful for this Thanksgiving season.
Amen. Trustee Buckley.
Yeah, the only comments I want to make are just
her
in
thing on?
preparation.
Is her thing on?
Here. Are in preparation for our veterans meeting, which will meet on November 20th. Just going over the agenda, just so the public is aware. We will be recognizing and hoping that Congresswoman Debbie Dingell is there, as well as her veterans advocate Melanie Tom. We'll be reviewing a review of suicide awareness webinar that the commissioners did earlier in September, an after-action report of our Veterans Day ceremony, and the informal ruck march that my family and I and the Picards did in preparation for a support committee that I'm hoping to form for next year to make a more formal ruck march for the community. We're going to be looking at forming an awareness committee to bring services and awareness to community veterans regarding the VA clinic and other services that they may benefit from, as well as an appreciation committee, which is just that, just organizing some events and services for the veterans in appreciation for their services. And then lastly, we'll have a presentation by Joanne Darga, community liaison for No Place Like Home Health, which services veterans. As far as any other comments, nothing I can think of. So thank you.
Thank you. Bob.
Tax bills are going in the mail November 30th. If it was up to me, you'd all get free taxes, but. Thank you, finally. It's set and ready to go. Summer taxes, we've collected about 98.7%. There's about 125 that have not paid, and they tend to be the ones that are the repeat offenders. We transferred the second group of the 2022 sidewalk assessments, which was about 260 parcels. And of those, about 100 have paid their full assessment right away. They didn't want it going on their tax bill.
You sent the invoice out already.
Yeah, the invoices went out, and they were, tomorrow's the last day to pay them, or they're gonna roll over, I'm gonna roll them over to the
Chuck, did you
taxes
get
on
one?
Thursday.
You're not part of that.
You're 23.
He's a 23.
No, I don't have any.
No, 23 is not done yet.
Because I'm a 23 as
Yeah.
well.
23 invoices won't go out maybe till after the first of the year.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking, is trying to get them out, January, February. One of the things that I guess pleasantly surprises me is that the number of people that just want to pay them off, and they come in and pay them. So I'd like to get bills out. I'd like to get them out, no later than February, and give them, the time to pay them, or they would go on the next year's winter
It
tax.
won't hit the tax roll until December of 2024.
Right.
Correct.
Right. What else? We also had I want to say about 200 delinquent water bills that also rolled over to the tax bills. So, I'm sorry, not 200, shoot, I'm losing the number now in my head.
It's usually about 300,000, right? So it's about that same number.
186,000.
Oh, it's coming down.
Yeah, it came down. We had 61 properties that were delinquent at Wayne County last year, so Wayne County sent the delinquency notices. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Ubers are cheap. Party, but take an Uber, it's cheap.
Go Lions.
Go Lions. No, I am not on that bandwagon yet. I am not.
You're not?
there.
You're not?
No.
No Kool-Aid? No Kool-Aid for you?
No
eh?
jinxes.
Okay, Jerry Vorva.
Yes, just real quick, you'll be receiving a couple of notices from me. One, a letter explaining about where the early voting center is and where the drop box is. You'll be receiving that letter probably after the first week of December.
It's a letter or a postcard?
It's a letter, and then we have to send out a new card, your new voter registration card. And so that will be coming also to you. And remember, again, I'll remind you again, the early voting's at one place, but then on election day, you go back to your regular polling places. So you'll be receiving that notice in the next couple of weeks.
So the new card is required to say where the early voting is?
Both of them are. I have to send out a letter.
And a card?
And a card, right. Yeah.
The voter card?
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
It's all part of the plan that we had to submit to Wayne County, and they require.
And now there's a possibility of a May election?
There may be a May election if the people who are collecting petitions for recall of the school board, that would fall in May. So we may end up with 4 elections next year.
And does the school district pay for that election?
Well, I don't know.
Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No.
Probably the county.
Well, usually the school districts pay for those if they instigate it. This is instigated.
Yeah, I mean,
by
I
the
think
public.
it's kind of cruel for the school district to pay for the election where their own people are being recalled. I don't think they would go for that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the county would pay.
No, they won't.
We'll see.
They'll make us pay. You watch.
Yeah.
Make us
Okay,
pay.
then, all set?
Why would there be a special election instead of it rolling to the next?
Well,
regular?
because the legislature the legislature had changed when school districts can hold elections. So otherwise, it would have to be in November.
Well,
But they'd be out of
the
office-
legislature stopped having school board elections
in February.
in May.
In May.
Used to be in June. June was always the school
Yeah.
board election.
That was my bill. That's
Yeah.
why I know.
Yeah.
I eliminated that.
Yeah, and so
John knows that.
they eliminated February elections and they changed the makeup for it, so it looks like May. Again, they have to
Okay,
collect
but
17,000.
it's still speculative at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Chuck?
Okay, I have several. Dog licenses, Bob. Hopefully you can still try to see if veterinarians will sell them. And
I did call one vet in Plymouth, and they weren't interested. It's where my kid's cat goes.
I think it's something to look at, and make your life easier and increase the number of dogs who get licenses, because we have very few. we have fewer than 1,000 dogs licensed in Plymouth Township.
We may
There's probably 5,000 dogs or 10.
If we put dogs on leashes, we may want to really
Require that.
require that.
Right. We'll talk about that in a minute. All right, we didn't have our meeting with the Planning Commission last year. I think we really got to have it, because I have some concerns about the Planning Commission and communication with us, so let's think about that quick early in the year.
Last time we did that, we had a commissioner quit on the spot.
I know, but because
I have a bad
because
feeling
we were
about it.
looking down on
I know,
them
it was
for
a
years.
terrible, no, it was a terrible arrangement. I agree. That
Just
was-
get a big
We got to
table
do
out
it,
there.
we have to do it in a more friendly format.
Right.
That was like it was like a Senate inquisition. It was not fun.
The electric vehicle charging station, what is the timing for implementation, and how are we going to collect for the electricity that we're hopefully
Yes.
not giving away?
You want to do that?
Yeah, I can do that. So we're having a discussion internally. What we need to do with those is we need to capture the costs, but we can't make a profit on it because of the Bolt decision.
So it's a pass-through of the electricity cost.
Yeah, we have electricity, plus there's a maintenance contract of like $900 a month. The catch is gonna be how to price it, and I've done some local research about how these things are priced. So you wanna price them so that they reflect the market, but the chicken and the egg problem is we don't know how much use it's gonna get, so we're gonna have to price it at a level that is consistent with the other EV stations in the market.
But that may be more than the pass-through, so we'd have a profit. If we're at the market.
Well, we can charge a service fee, and
Yeah.
whether that's going to be tied to a percentage or a flat fee at a flat rate,
Yes.
we have made that decision.
So I've talked to the city of Plymouth, and they did some research. The finance director there they're putting 2 in the parking lot. I think 2 that they're bringing live, and they went out and did some market research to determine what the going rate is. Because you wanna make it so that people are incentivized, but you don't really wanna compete with the private sector either.
Well, DTE is supplying the electricity.
Yeah.
We're not giving it away or anything like that.
Yeah, they're not
So
giving
it's-
us the electricity. We have to pay for it.
This is a DTE is supplying the electricity, the driver is obtaining the electricity. On top of that, though, we get to charge a service fee.
When will it be, what are we waiting on, a connection?
We've had a lot of work done,
Last week.
electrical work done in the last couple weeks. Obviously, they're still covered up right now, so there's still some more work that has to be done. We'll talk to I've got a call into our planner and also DTE. DTE is going through I think they're going through a leadership change at the local level right now, so we're having the response has been a little bit.
Okay, so you're on it? So
Yeah, we're on it.
Good. The last one is allowing dogs on leashes in our parks and changing that in our ordinance. I'd like to talk about that next week, or not next week, next
No,
month.
actually, we will. We will.
So what do we got to do to get it?
So-
We have to repeal a section of the ordinance, it's
Yeah.
a lawyering thing.
So let me talk about that, because I was gonna mention this when it was my turn, because we have to update the park rules at our December 12th meeting. And that would be a good time to talk about dogs on leashes at the parks. But you are correct that we will also have to amend the current ordinance as well, which prohibits dogs in parks. I would like Kevin, though, to start thinking about maybe what we could do, like we did a couple of years ago, maybe do a resolution that would allow this on a temporary basis for the summer of '24 to see how it works. But we haven't had that discussion in depth yet.
Yeah, that may or may not be possible
I
because.
can't use a resolution to override an ordinance?
No.
Yeah. So we could also amend the park rules so that something would take effect on a certain date, like May 1st, okay? And then that would give us a time to
I'd
amend.
like it to take effect in the
amend the
winter,
ordinance.
like
Well,
January.
Yeah,
1st.
but we have to do an ordinance, we have to do a first reading, a second reading, publication, and all that stuff.
One thing
So-
that might grant the board more flexibility is if it's in the ordinance itself that dogs are not allowed at the parks, just to repeal that and replace it with, the board can
At our discretion.
implement changes to the park rules and put the dog provisions in the rules rather than the ordinance.
Okay.
All right, so well, let's noodle it, and the faster the better.
Yeah. Well, we have to do the park rules update on December 12th. So that's as quick as we can move.
I think our survey said 2/3 would support it, of the non-scientific
Yeah.
survey for master plan, was it?
That was the joint recreation
Recreation.
master plan, yeah. So,
Does Mayberry currently allow dogs?
That's a state
I don't know, but every other city and township park in the surrounding metro area allows them.
Mayberry does. Should
That
people
survey
walk
was a
dogs?
cat walking across the keyboard.
Mayberry's a
Yeah,
state
jeez.
park, so they have
They allow
different rules.
yeah.
Yeah, they allow it.
I'm just curious with all the kids and.
Yeah,
what
well,
is the likelihood
that's-
for?
There's a lot of pros and cons, and
Yeah.
But the
Well,
people
hopefully
have to have
people in
a-
Plymouth pick up.
I just
the
hope people
dog
pick
mess.
up.
They would have to have
Gotta have
they have
baddies
to have
out
a
there.
license, in my opinion, before they could do that,
Do what?
to walk their dog.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why we were talking about, let's have that discussion
Yeah.
later on.
There's some
because-
logistics or whatever, but let's
We
not
have to-
overthink it so it gets delayed for another months or years or.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna require tighter regulations on the dog license.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want dogs,
Unlicensed.
unlicensed rabid, biting people or biting other dogs.
Well, dog license are administered, well, that law is a state law.
right.
So,
But we could require that they can't come in unless it's licensed.
right. Okay, all set?
Yep.
Okay, so, again, we are meeting on December 12th. As of now, we have DDA appointments and reappointments. Bob Dorshevitz and Pat Felrath will be talking about the advanced metering system. Do we have to vote on anything that night?
We may,
Okay.
not on the system, but on,
Okay.
on some
Some other stuff.
appropriation.
Okay.
More money spending on it?
More
Little
money,
bit.
maybe. We have to renew our contract with Wayne County Assessing. Again, update the park rules. And again, December 12th is still a ways away, so there may be some other additions. Again, I don't know what's going on with Northville Downs, folks. It's been radio silence since October 2nd. And I was watching Fox Business tonight, and they were saying that even though the stock market had a good day today due to inflation numbers, but that banks are just not lending money. And I've heard that from other developers as well in the community that have had a really hard time getting loans. So I don't know if that's a factor or not, but I know it's impacting other developers in other industries.
So they're increasing the standards for giving, the requirements for issuing loans.
Yeah, more than
More
likely. I mean,
conservative.
I don't, I've never.
I know, you heard that.
Yeah, but I
it's
heard that-
counterintuitive, because with
Yeah,
interest
it
rates
is.
up, you
It
would
is
be thinking
counterintuitive.
they
Yeah.
would be dying.
I
to
don't know
loan
if they're
money.
just being overly cautious or
Could be,
what.
could
you
be.
know.
You're looking at bottom lines,
Yeah, or end of year, maybe there's some end of year numbers that they have to comply
and
with.
they don't
so-
want to end up in court in New York City
Jeez.
for
Okay.
overvaluing their.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by trustee Stewart, is there a second? Second by trustee Buckley, and we are adjourned.